Welcome back. Remember last time we were talking about trigonometric identities, and we were working quite a bit with the fact that sine squared plus cosine squared is equal to 1. We're going to get back to that in a little bit, but one of the homework problems went something like this. It said, suppose that sine of pi over 8 is 2 minus the square root of 2 square root divided by 2. Incidentally, my calculator told me this is about 0.38268. What are cosine pi over 8 or sine 17 pi over 8, tangent pi over 8, or tangent minus 15 pi over 8? And immediately what will come to your mind is that we have one of these or some version of it. We don't have to think about this. The truth is, though, in figuring out the solutions based just on this, it will give us a much deeper understanding of how all these things are related, and this is why I want to present this problem to you. Incidentally, we remember that pi over 6 is 30 degrees. It shows up a lot. Pi over 4 is 45 degrees. Pi over 3 is 60 degrees. Pi over 2 is 90 degrees. Pi over 8 doesn't show up that much, or I haven't seen it that much. So I wanted to know how many degrees it was, because when I make circles and lines, I usually think in degrees, because that's how I first learned it. So we know that to turn radians into degrees, we need to multiply by the unit factor, 180 degrees divided by pi radians. This tells me this is 22.5 degrees. This is going to give me an idea of how to draw this circle. And now I have to make a decision about what kind of circle I want to draw. I could draw the unit circle. And sometimes the unit circle is very valuable, and sometimes this is a great idea. I'm not going to draw that right now, though, because I will show you another. In some ways, these are quite equivalent. I'm going to do this. Remember, we know, okay, so here I'm going to assume that this is about 25.5 degrees, or as we're doing, this is pi over 8 radians. Here's the triangle we're going to be using to tell our little story. Remember that the sine of any angle alpha is going to be y divided by r, right? And so here's our r, here's our y. If I make the unit circle, if I do this as 1, that means that the y part of this is going to be what? Well, so we know that, so we have this. We're given sine of pi over 8 is equal to 2 minus the square root of 2 divided by 2. If this is y divided by r, then this is y, and we would divide this by r would equal 1, right? So that means I would line this up as 2 minus the square root of 2 square root divided by 2, and this is 1. I'm not going to do that right now, although this is equivalent. What I'm going to do is look at it like this. This is 2 minus the square root of 2 square root divided by 2. I'm going to let this be my y and this be my r. So we're not on the unit circle anymore because r is 2. Why did I do that? I don't know. It was just kind of random. I didn't feel like having to think about what this was going to be just as one thing because it looks so complicated. I suppose really the truth is that I would, this 2 minus the square root of 2 square root over 2 is not an easy thing to look at. It's not hard, but it's not easy to look at like a simple number. What I've done here is break these monstrosity, or this monstrosity, up just a little bit. Will it really matter? No, it won't. So now what is this? And we already know from Pythagoras' theorem, this is going to be the square root of this squared plus this squared, or sorry, this squared minus this squared square root. And let me make that more clear. I can already tell I'm making lots of verbal mistakes. Once again, it's late in the day. Okay, so we have y, x, and r. We know that r squared equals x squared plus y squared. In this, we are looking for x here. That means that r squared minus y squared equals x squared, or plus and minus the square root of r squared minus y squared is equal to x. We took the square root of both sides. because we're in the first quadrant, we know that this is going to be a positive number. So, plugging our numbers in, r is 2, so this is 2 squared, minus, so now we have the square root of stuff. Basically, anytime you take the square root of anything and square it, it just makes the square root symbol go away, right? So this squared is going to be 2 minus the square root of 2. And so we have that, and we need to take the square root of this. This cleans up. This is the square root of 4 minus 2 minus minus is plus the square root of 2. 4 minus 2 is 2. This is the square root of 2 plus the square root of parentheses 2 plus the square root of 2. And as far as tongue teasers go, this is a pretty good one. But anyway, so for the moment, there is our basic triangle that we're looking at. And now let's make sure that it works. So the sign of this is going to be parentheses 2 minus the square root of 2 square root divided by 2, which is what we got. So the first thing they wanted to know, what is the cosine of this? And the cosine is, everything is set up perfectly. The cosine then is going to be this divided by this, which is the square root of 2 plus the square root of 2 over 2. Okay, so this is the first problem. The next is, what is the sine of 17 pi over 8? Well, you need to think about 17 pi over 8. 8 goes into 17 2 times clean, right? This is 2 plus, there's 1 left over, 1/8 pi, and I'll write it like this. Remember, sine and cosine are both periodic functions. It is a fact that the sine of any alpha, angle alpha plus 2 pi is equal to the sine of alpha. And that's, remember we talked about that last time. Really, this is plus or minus 2k pi, where the k is an integer. Basically, this is just how many times it's wrapping around the circle. 17 pi went around here all the way once. That was 16 and then it went back up 1/8. It's sitting in the exact same place. Basically, it's a trick question. This is the exact same thing that this is. They're no different because it's a periodic function. This is starting to look great. What is the tangent of pi over 8? Well, that's just memorizing what tangent is. Tangent is the y divided by the x. And remember, here's the y, here's your x. The tangent of pi over 8 then is going to be the square root of 2 minus the square root of 2 divided by the square root of 2 plus the square root of 2. Lastly, what is the tangent of minus 15 pi over 8? Well, minus 15 pi over 8, if it was minus 16 pi over 8, that would be 2 pi, and it just would have went backwards and landed right here. So basically, this is, we can do this the same way. We can come here, and believe it or not, it's right here. We need to take a break, and I think that bears a little better explanation, so we'll be back in a second.